What up, fam? I am Dr. De Luna, and you are listening to Drop It Like It's Doc podcast. Today, I'll be dropping you a whole bunch of truth bombs on fake health foods and why you should never eat them. So, fam, you've been with me on this journey. I know you have. And you know that I am convinced that our government does not give a flying fuck about us or our health. In fact, I think that they would actually like for us to be sick and obese because that's just how they make all of their money. So there are a lot of foods out there that people think are healthy, that are truly marketed as health foods or weight loss, BS bars, whatever the fuck it is. And they are truly contributing to obesity, metabolic disease, cardiovascular disease, depression, all sorts of things that we are going to get into. So some of these things you might be like, yeah, I knew that was bad. Some of these things, though, are going to blow your mind. So this is one that I'm going to start with that some of you right now are probably sipping on, and a lot of you love this, and this has come out a little bit more so recently. Oat milk. I know, I'm so sorry. Do oats have milk? Just a little question for you. Do they make any milkies? They don't. They do not. So oats are a grain. They are largely carbohydrate. So to make oat milk, these carbohydrate-rich grains are soaked, they are processed, they are ground up, and this milk, which is water, is extracted from them. And oats in general, they have a lot of carbs, a lot of sugar in them. And that is very different than something like cow's milk or goat's milk or even almond milk that has fat already in it, fat and protein in its structure. So really, oat milk doesn't have that much nutrients in it at all. Most people that like oat milk, they like it because it's creamy and the texture, but from a nutritional standpoint, the only nutrients that it has in there outside of an abundance of sugar are nutrients that they fortified into it, that they added into it. So at baseline, not that healthy. And overall, oats are one of the most genetically modified grains in the world, especially in this country, right? Where we live in the land of GMOs and where people are telling you that it's for your health. It's all for profit, babes. Like none of that is for your health, okay? So these oats, they're genetically modified. And most things, fam, they're genetically modified so that they can withstand a disgusting amount of pesticides. That's why. Because if not, they would die. Just pause and think about how fucked up that is for a second. Like that blows my mind, and as you can feel my anger, it infuriates me that is why this is happening. So oats are sprayed, and they're also a really common source of mold contamination, honestly. So you're taking all this GMO, highly toxic grain, you're making soup out of it, putting some extra vitamins in it and calling it a health alternative to dairy. I don't buy it. What oat milk does is it raises your blood sugar. So it can cause immense shifts and spikes in blood sugar. Every time your blood sugar spikes, it drops. So I would much rather you have a different type of milk. And let's continue down the milk train. So you're like, wow, I can't believe Dr. De Luna is telling me to drink 2% milk. Like, wow, that's so great. I'm going to drink that instead. I knew it. No, that is not what I am saying. Because the milk that is from a cow. First of all, I'm severely lactose intolerant. So also, fun fact, if you want to know if you're lactose intolerant, I can't even tell you how many of my patients are like, will you test me for lactose intolerance? I'm like, sure. Drink a glass of milk. What happens? Do you get bubble guts? Do you immediately have to shit? Do you have farts that smell like a toxic wasteland? You're lactose intolerant, okay? You don't need a test to tell you that. That is your test. But independent of you being lactose intolerant, you drinking conventional milk, and conventional is just what you would get in any grocery store, right? Like the 2%, the 1%, it's pasteurized, right? Yay! Saving us from bacteria. No, pasteurization is not doing that. And pasteurization goes along with homogenization, in which they are taking this milk, which let me also say that the milk that is coming from the udder of a sick cow is very different than the milk coming from an udder of a happy cow that is wandering around a pasture, that has its family around, that is in the sunshine, that has its children around, that doesn't know that it's suffering, versus a cow that is stuck inside of a building, is fed hormones, their udders actually have a lot of infectious organisms on them. They look inflamed. They look sad. That milk is very different than milk from a organic, pasture-raised, happy, free-range cow. So when you take the milk from a sick cow, which is essentially what every single conventional dairy item is in the store, there's pus in it. First of all, that's just fucking disgusting, but there's pus in it. And for them to pasteurize it, they heat it up to a certain temperature in which they kill the microorganisms in it. But again, a healthy cow doesn't even have those microorganisms in it. They probably have healthy probiotics, things that our gut developed with, things that actually helped us break down the components in milk. But if it's pasteurized, they don't have any of those beneficial organisms because they killed them all in the pasteurization process, in that heating process, which if it's a sick cow, yeah, you don't want those microorganisms, but I have found that process, because there's also proteins in milk. Some people react to the lactose in milk, some people react to the proteins in milk. And the proteins in milk, like every single protein, when you heat it up, they become denatured, which just means that heat changes them on a molecular structure. Denatured proteins look different to our immune system. Our immune system binds to proteins. That's how it knows what it is. It has this molecular mark that the immune system knows and responds to. And when you change a protein structure, whether you genetically modify it, or whether you are pasteurizing it or heating it up in a way that isn't natural for that substance, what will happen is the protein changes. Your immune system's like, what is this? We must kill it. And that can cause inflammation in your gut. So I do think that if I was not severely lactose intolerant, in which I took a sip of milk and turned into the bubble machine, I would probably drink raw milk. I would give it a go. I only eat raw dairy for that exact reason, because again, we don't want to denature the proteins. And just think about what your great grandparents ate. Did they die from milk poisoning? No, of course they didn't. So not a fan of oat milk, not a fan of pasteurized milk at all. Not necessarily going into alternatives on this, but I'll kind of list them as we go through, I suppose, but I'm just going to give you some insight into foods that you might think are healthy, but they're really not. So something else that you might think is healthy is, this is actually a pet peeve of mine when my patients tell me this, when they're like, yeah, I just get fat-free everything. Like, yeah, I eat yogurt, but it's fat-free. Yes, I eat chicken, but it's lean. Yes, I eat this, but it's fat fucking free. We need fat. We need fat. Your brain is fat. I'm not insulting your brain. I'm complimenting it. Your brain is fat. Your brain needs to have fat. All of your neurons need to have fat. Your hormones need fat. Like we actually do need fat. So what do you think they put in it if there's no fat, huh? Sugar. They add sugar. So yeah, it might be fat free. So it's essentially just a cookie now, right? So I would not recommend you being scared of fat. I like whole fat everything, like truly all fat everything, especially because that means it's not processed. It's coming in its form that the earth has grown it and created it in, but it's not going to lead to insulin spikes and drops, because a lot of what we see metabolically that leads to things like obesity, metabolic disease, cardiovascular disease, it's not actually an issue with fat, fam. Scientists got it wrong. They really did. And they completely changed our food pyramid because of it. And the FDA, again, does not give a fuck about you. So they're telling you to eat foods that are causing disease. And the literature has shown, studies have shown, time has shown that it's not fat. It's not. It's sugar and added sugar and different processed things that are abundant in our food supply that are influencing the way that insulin talks to our cells. And when insulin gets confused in the way that it talks to the cells, diabetes ensues. But also it can lead to you having weight gain independent of fat. So I will say that sugar, eating excess sugar, can lead to things like an increase in triglycerides. And that is a type of fat that your body, that you would find on blood work or something like that. But this might be controversial, which I love being controversial. Eating more fat will not raise your serum cholesterol. Your body makes cholesterol. Your body makes cholesterol based on its needs. And one of the main things that your body will make cholesterol for is to fight inflammation. So please don't be scared of eating full fat something because you are scared of cardiovascular disease. Your body needs healthy fats. What it does not need is processed fat, hydrogenated oils, low fat this, low fat that, trans fats, things like that. Those are all very modified. I am not a fan of one of them. Other things that I am not a fan of that you might think are healthy. Sugar-free. Sugar-free. Okay. It says sugar-free, right? So you're like, great, this is going to be better for all the things that the doctor just talked about. My blood sugar is not going to be spiking and dropping because there is no sugar. That's bullshit. You know, FDA is super good at giving you labels. So sugar-free just means that there's a sugar-like substances in it instead. And this sugar-like substance is highly processed. It is, again, something that your immune system, that your nervous system, that your gut hasn't usually seen before. So it can cause a lot of issues with bloating, discomfort in your gut, but also sugar-free with these processed sugars, they have actually been shown. For instance, I feel like I was raised in the Diet Coke era, and people became addicted to Diet Coke and they thought it was better for them. Diet soda or anything that's sugar-free, again, that taste, right? Like I can taste a Diet Coke in my mouth right now and it tastes disgusting. But there was one point in my life in which that brought me joy. And there's been studies that show that people that enjoy beverages like that, rather than just like regular Coke, increased risk of heart disease, metabolic disease, inflammation, things like that. There is a reason why our country is so obese. It's because of our food. And a lot of you, let me just say, you are trying. You are trying to do it right, and I admire you. And I appreciate that you are researching and putting energy into what you eat. And you, unfortunately, my sweet baby, you trust people that you should not trust. I wouldn't trust the government, but who's to say? I'm bitter. Yeah, we know this. But again, anything that they're telling you to eat, I would maybe almost do the opposite. Isn't it fucked up that if you eat healthy, you're almost considered to have an eating disorder or like be on a diet, when really I'm just telling you to like eat cow, full fat, dairy, cheese? But that's for another day. That tangent will go for another day. Some other things that are healthy that are actually not healthy are oat bars and protein bars. So remember Nature Valley oat bars? I feel like I ate one of those for breakfast every day in high school. I still think that people think those are a healthy snack for their kids or whatnot. Those oat bars, they can speak to the same thing that I said when I started about oat milk. Very processed grain, straight sugar, very genetically modified, a lot of pesticides and herbicides, a lot of mold, but really those bars are just sugar bombs. And a lot of protein bars, if you read the back of the ingredients, I don't like anything that has more than, honestly, like 5-6 ingredients. I don't. It should not have that many ingredients in it. And if it does, I should be able to pronounce every single one. I should be able to know what it is. Please, the next time you look at the back of any of your bars, even a fucking Cliff Bar, there is so much added sugar. So much added sugar. There should not be that much added sugar. It essentially turns into a candy bar at some point. So I would say, what's my favorite protein bar? Beef jerky was my second favorite protein bar. A hard-boiled egg. What's my third? Trail mix. You see what I did there? Those are all high protein, nourishing snacks that aren't processed, that don't have an absurd amount of added sugar in them. So also those bars, they have a lot of weird isolates in them. You'll see like soy isolates and just weird stuff that you don't necessarily even need in your body. There's a lot of ways to make those bars at home and to make them healthy. And you would just put some nuts and seeds and nut butter, maybe collagen powder. That's a protein bar. I don't know what they're giving to us at the store. And they tell us that they're going to help us lose weight or something. And also the funny thing is that people are eating these protein bars in place of a meal. So now your nervous system is triggered because your blood sugar spiked and dropped from that protein bar, but you're like, I ate protein. My doctor told me to eat more protein. I thought I'm doing good. Not enough calories, highly processed, leading to things like metabolic disease, which is actually the opposite of weight loss. It's going to tell your body to gain weight. Not a fan at all. Other thing that you might think is healthy that is absolutely not healthy are all of these fake meats and cheeses. I'm appalled that people think that growing meat in a lab is going to save this planet. You drank the special sauce. The special sauce was a lie. That is not going to save this planet. That is so bad. We should not be eating any foods that were grown in a lab. And trust me, I've been vegan, I've been vegetarian, I've been every diet under the sun, and I admire those of you that are choosing to be plant-based because of your love for animals. But I want to remind you that you are an animal and you have to love yourself and you have to eat real food. And meat grown in a lab is not real food. Fake cheese is not cheese. And also what drives me crazy is people buying these fake meats that bleed or that taste like meat. Homie, that is your body saying that's craving a steak. You gotta listen to what your body is craving. You shouldn't want fake meat that's bleeding, okay? When I was vegan, I didn't crave any of that stuff. I wanted like rice and beans and whole foods. So just throwing it out there, anything that they're making to look like meat is so incredibly modified and processed that your immune system is gonna have no idea what it is. So if you are someone with an autoimmune disease, any type of inflammatory gut condition, any type of just mystery gut symptom that you can't get to the bottom of, like bloating, gas, changes in bowel movements, it could 1,000,000% be the processed plant-based products that you're consuming. So if you ever look on the back of those, even if we're talking about, say, almond milk at the store, I would consider that a plant-based product. Looking on the back, the only almond milk that you would ever see me buy, which I don't buy it, but if I did, it would only say almonds and water. Maybe salt, because I love salt, or like vanilla, because I love vanilla. But it should not say almond milk, water, guar gum, sunflower seed oil. That's another actual issue with the oat milk that I forgot to mention, is that it's full of seed oils. But now we're all the way down at other plant-based products. So the plant-based cheeses and meats, I promise you when you look at the back of them that they have at least one type of gum or binder or seed oil, and those are so incredibly inflammatory to the body. So I would say either don't eat that fake dairy or eat real dairy or nothing, if that is something that you are interested in doing. So really, while I went through all these fake foods, it's because a lot of you you're probably even listening to this podcast because you are interested in learning about health and you're interested in learning about how to take care of your body. And it's such a disservice to this whole world that we are being fed lies about what we should eat and what we should not eat. And I want to remind you that if you would look back at movies or videos or anything from even 50 years ago, the population was they were so much healthier. They were in shape. They didn't have metabolic disease like we do. They would even be smoking all day and they would not have heart disease like we have now. And it's truly because of our food. So I want you to think critically about what you put in your body every single day, because that is something that you can control. You can control what you eat. And of course, it's not always cost effective for someone to go all organic or farm to table or whatever it is, right? But you can spend your money wisely and choose whole foods over processed foods always. And if you're choosing a food because you think it's healthy, and if it was on this list, I hope that it empowered you with some just ideas as to what to choose instead or how to navigate that process. And you can always just think about what your great grandparents ate. They probably ate a lot of meat, a lot of dairy, a lot of fresh baked bread that was not processed with GMO grains. They probably ate a lot of veggies and fruits, things that were in season. They were not eating or drinking oat milk. They were not using seed oils, and that's why they lived the way that they did. So we're really killing it as a human population, babes, but I hope that you throw out your oat milk and your fake cheese and that you eat a block of goat Gouda, because it is so good. So is a steak. Delicious. Protein bar. Beef jerky, baby. All right, fam. Thanks for being here. Share this with someone that needs it, because I know some of you need it. Love you. Bye.